The chrome and glass tower rose 70 stories above New Seattle's business district, each floor a testament to the Chin family's four-generation climb from immigrant restaurant owners to tech dynasty. Maya Chin stood in the building's lobby, her reflection fractured across a dozen holographic displays cycling through news feeds, stock tickers, and the ever-present social credit scores that branded every citizen with a number the moment they stepped through the doors. Hers blinked in pale yellow, a respectable 712, service sector stable, nothing remarkable. Her cousin Derek's face smiled from one of the displays, his platinum 956 glowing beside his image as he announced Chin Dynamics' latest neural interface breakthrough. Maya's fingers traced the edge of the envelope in her jacket pocket. Inside, a single keycard encoded with access codes her mother had pressed into her palm 3 days ago in the hospice ward where Maya spent her days helping people die with dignity. Linda Chen's hands had been cold, her breathing shallow, but her grip had been iron. "The Chin Tower," she'd whispered. Sublevel 7. "Your grandmother left you something. Tonight, before the gala. Don't tell anyone, the gala." Maya checked her phone, 5:47 p.m. The annual Chin family legacy celebration started at 7, 3 floors up in the Sky Garden where the family would parade their successes before investors, politicians, and the 500 most influential people in the Pacific Northwest. Maya's invitation had arrived late, almost an afterthought, with a handwritten note from her aunt, dress code, formal. "Please try to look presentable this year." She bypassed the main elevators where a security drone scanned identification chips, heading instead for the service corridor her mother had described. The door recognized her biometric signature, surprising, since she'd never worked in this building, and granted access. The service elevator descended in silence, the numbers dropping past the parking levels into territories most Chin family members didn't know existed. Sublevel 7 opened onto a corridor lined with storage units, their doors sealed with biometric locks that flickered in the dim emergency lighting. Maya walked slowly, checking unit numbers until she found S7-2847. She pressed her palm to the reader. The lock disengaged with a soft click. Inside, the unit was small, maybe 8 by 10 feet, lined with plastic storage containers and filing cabinets that belonged in a museum of pre-digital record keeping. A single overhead light flickered on, revealing stacks of paper documents, physical photographs, and on the small desk in the corner, an old model tablet with a sticky note attached. The handwriting was her grandmother's, for Maya. "When you're ready to know the truth," Maya activated the tablet. It contained a single file, locked with a password prompt. She tried her birthday. Her mother's birthday, the address of her childhood home. Nothing worked. Then she noticed the photographs on the wall above the desk, her grandmother as a young woman, standing in front of a small restaurant. The sign read Chen's Kitchen, EST 1987. Maya typed the year. The file opened. What she saw made her sit down hard in the dusty office chair. Financial records. Property deeds. Stock certificates. A corporate structure chart showing trusts within trusts, shell companies, and asset transfers spanning 3 decades. At the center of it all, one name repeated over and over: Linda Chen, trustee. Not Derek's father, the celebrated CEO. Not Vanessa's mother, the social media empress. Not Brandon's parents, the venture capital gods. Her mother. The hospice nurse who wore scrubs with fraying cuffs and drove a 15-year-old electric sedan. Maya's hands shook as she scrolled through documents. Her grandmother had established the Chin Family Irrevocable Trust in 2005, 2 years before the social credit system went live, when it was still possible to hide wealth behind layers of privacy that no longer existed. The trust held the original Chen's Kitchen property, now worth $40 million as prime real estate. It held stock in Chin Dynamics from the company's founding, before it went public and made Derek's father a billionaire. It held commercial properties, residential developments, investment portfolios that generated passive income in the millions, and according to these documents, when her grandmother died 3 years ago, everything had transferred to Linda Chen as trustee and primary beneficiary. With Maya listed as successor beneficiary upon her mother's death, Maya's phone buzzed. A message from Derek: "Where are you? Gala starts in 40 minutes. Don't embarrass us by showing up late. She took photos of everything with her phone, downloaded the files to an encrypted personal drive, and left the storage unit exactly as she'd found it. The elevator ride back up felt surreal, like surfacing from deep water. By the time she reached the lobby, she'd composed her face into the pleasant neutrality she'd perfected over years of family gatherings where her chosen profession was treated as a character flaw. The Sky Garden occupied floors 70 through 72, an architectural marvel of transparent aluminum walls and hydroponic gardens that gave the illusion of floating among the clouds. Maya emerged from the elevator into a river of wealth, holographic name tags floating beside each guest, displaying their social credit scores, net worth, and professional achievements in rotating text. She felt exposed, her 712 score practically screaming underachiever in a room where the average hovered around 850. Derek spotted her immediately. He cut through the crowd with the confidence of someone whose 956 score opened doors, granted loans, and guaranteed respectful treatment from every automated system in existence. His tuxedo was probably custom printed that morning, fabric woven with reactive threads that shifted color subtly in response to his mood. Currently, they were displaying irritation in deep crimson undertones. "You're late," he said, not bothering with pleasantries. "And what are you wearing?" Maya glanced down at her dress, a simple black cocktail number she'd bought 3 years ago for another family function. "Clothing, it's vintage." Derek made it sound like an accusation. "Did you at least update your social profile? Aunt Melissa's been asking what you've accomplished this year, and I had to tell her you're still at that death warehouse, hospice facility," Maya corrected. "And I helped 93 people die with dignity and peace this year." "I'd call that an accomplishment." Derek's expression flickered, something that might have been discomfort, quickly suppressed. "Right. Well, try to mingle. Network. These people could be useful to you if you ever decide to do something with your life." He moved away before she could respond, already flagging down a city councilwoman whose holographic tag displayed a concerning amount of her personal data. Maya grabbed champagne from a passing server drone and surveyed the room. Her family occupied the room's power positions like chess pieces. Derek held court near the main bar, surrounded by Chin Dynamics executives. Vanessa posed for photos beneath a holographic display of her lifestyle brand's latest metrics: 10 million followers, 94% engagement rate, brand partnerships generating 8 figures annually. Brandon worked a cluster of venture capitalists near the windows, probably pitching his newest investment fund. Their parents floated through the crowd, collecting compliments like tribute. Maya found a quiet corner near the indoor bamboo grove and tried to process what she'd discovered in the storage unit. If those documents were legitimate, if her mother really had been quietly holding the family's foundational wealth all these years while working herself into exhaustion, "You look like someone who needs saving from this party." Maya turned. The man who'd spoken wasn't part of the family crowd. His holographic tag displayed Elijah Rhodes, Rhodes Associates, Estate Law, 887 social credit score. He was tall, black, with silver threading through his close-cropped hair and eyes that suggested he found the entire spectacle amusing. His tuxedo was impeccably tailored, but worn with the casual ease of someone comfortable in their own skin regardless of clothing. "Is my misery that obvious?" Maya asked, only to someone who spent the last hour watching you be systematically ignored by everyone in your family. He extended a glass of champagne. "I brought reinforcements. Are you crashing this party, Mr. Rhodes, Elijah? And I'm invited, technically. Your mother hired me 6 months ago." His expression shifted, genuine sympathy replacing the amusement. "I'm sorry about her condition. She spoke very highly of you." Maya's throat tightened. "You've met her?" "Several times. At the hospice, actually, where she insisted on meeting because she didn't want anyone knowing she'd hired an estate attorney." He gestured toward a quieter corner. "Can we talk?" Somewhere less ostentatious, they moved to an alcove overlooking the city, the party noise fading to background chatter. Up close, Maya could see the fine lines around Elijah's eyes, the silver in his hair catching the ambient light. He looked tired, like someone who'd been carrying something heavy for too long. Your mother asked me to wait until after the gala to contact you, Elijah said. But I've been watching your family tonight, and I'm reconsidering that plan. Why? Because they're about to make a formal announcement regarding your grandmother's estate, and you should know the truth before they do. He pulled a slim tablet from his jacket. Everything I'm about to show you, your mother documented. Notarized. Legally bulletproof. Maya took the tablet. The files matched what she'd found in the storage unit, but with additional layers, bank records showing Linda Chen making monthly transfers to cover property taxes, maintenance costs, and investment fees. Email chains where Derek discussed the family properties as his personal portfolio. Messages between the cousins joking about Maya's poverty mindset while her mother quietly funded their lifestyles. Derek's been telling everyone for years that he manages the family real estate holdings, Elijah said quietly. He's been collecting management fees, taking credit for appreciation he had nothing to do with, and positioning himself as the family's financial genius. Your mother let him. She paid every bill, covered every expense, and let him think he was running the show. Why would she do that? Because she was protecting you. She knew if your family understood the true financial structure, they'd find a way to contest it, manipulate it, or destroy it. By staying invisible, by letting them underestimate her and dismiss you, she ensured that when the time came, you'd inherit everything free and clear. Maya scrolled through more files, her hands trembling. When the time came, the trust transfers to you immediately upon her death. Full control, no restrictions, no co-trustees. Your grandmother designed it that way specifically because she'd watched this family tear itself apart over money. She wanted to give you the resources to build something different, Maya repeated, the words tasting strange. She looked out over New Seattle's glittering skyline, each building a monument to someone's ambition. I work with dying people, Elijah. I help families say goodbye. I don't know anything about managing millions of dollars in real estate. Your mother said you'd say that. Elijah smiled, soft and genuine. She also said you once spent 6 weeks organizing a fundraiser that brought in enough money to give 30 terminal patients their last wishes. You found sponsors, negotiated with vendors, coordinated volunteers, and made miracles happen on a budget smaller than your cousin spends on shoes. You know exactly how to manage resources. You've just been doing it for people who couldn't pay you back. Before Maya could respond, the crowd noise shifted. Derek had moved to the center of the room, tapping a champagne glass for attention. Vanessa and Brandon flanked him, a united front of Chen family success. We should probably hear this, Elijah murmured. They rejoined the main room as Derek launched into a speech about family legacy, honoring tradition, and stepping into new responsibilities. Maya felt dozens of eyes slide over her, dismissive, before returning to Derek's performance. She was furniture in her own family story, present but irrelevant, as many of you know. Derek continued, our grandmother established this family's fortune. She was a visionary, an entrepreneur, a woman ahead of her time. When she passed 3 years ago, she entrusted the family properties to those who could best honor her legacy. He paused for effect. Tonight, I'm proud to announce the official formation of Chen Property Holdings, a management company that will consolidate our family's real estate portfolio under unified leadership. My leadership, applause rippled through the crowd. Vanessa beamed. Brandon looked satisfied. Their parents glowed with pride. Derek raised his glass. To family. To legacy. To building something that lasts, except none of it belongs to him. Maya turned. Elijah hadn't spoken loudly, but somehow his voice carried in the moment of silence after the toast. Head swiveled. Derek's expression went from triumphant to dangerous. Excuse me? Derek's voice had gone very quiet. Elijah stepped forward, casual but commanding attention. I'm Elijah Rhodes, estate attorney for Linda Chen. I have here, he produced the tablet, documentation proving that the Chen family irrevocable trust, which holds every property you just referenced, has been under Linda Chen's control since 2008. You've been managing properties you don't own, Derek. Collecting fees for services rendered to assets that belong to someone else. The room went silent. Maya felt her heart trying to escape her chest. Derek forced a laugh. That's absurd. I've been managing the family properties for a decade. I have power of attorney for your grandmother's personal affairs, which ended with her death. The trust is separate, ironclad, and very specific about its beneficiary structure. Elijah looked past Derek, directly at Maya. Would you like to tell them, or should I? Maya opened her mouth. Closed it. Every eye in the room was on her now, confusion and calculation flickering across faces. She thought about her mother, working double shifts while paying for Derek's brilliant investments. She thought about every Christmas dinner where her cousins had made jokes about her charity work. Every family gathering where she'd been introduced as the poor relation who works with dying people. I think, Maya said slowly, surprised by the steadiness in her voice, that you should tell them, Elijah. Elijah's smile was small but warm, meant just for her. Then he turned to address the room. Maya Chen is the sole beneficiary of the Chen family irrevocable trust, effective upon Linda Chen's passing. The trust holds approximately $200 million in assets, the original Chen's kitchen property, Chen Dynamics stock from the company's founding, and a commercial real estate portfolio spanning 3 states. Linda Chen has been the trustee and financial manager of these assets for 17 years while working as a registered nurse. She documented every transaction, every expense, and every attempt by Derek Chen to misrepresent ownership. Vanessa's face had gone pale. Brandon looked like he was running calculations. Derek's expression cycled through denial, rage, and something that might have been fear. That's impossible, Derek said. Aunt Linda is a nurse. She doesn't have, she couldn't, she could and did. Elijah's voice was gentle but implacable. She paid property taxes on holdings Derek claimed as his own. She covered maintenance costs he billed to Chen Property Management, a company that exists only on paper. She's been funding your lifestyle, Derek, while you've been taking credit for her work. This is insane. Vanessa found her voice. Maya doesn't even, she can't manage a savings account, let alone a real estate empire. Grandma would never, your grandmother, Elijah interrupted, watched this family for decades. She saw how you treated people who didn't worship money. She saw how you mocked Maya for choosing meaningful work over high-paying careers. She made very deliberate choices about who deserved to inherit her life's work. Maya felt dizzy. The room had erupted in whispers, holographic tags flickering as people frantically searched for information, updated their social profiles with this shocking development. Her own score had jumped, financial windfalls triggered automatic credit adjustments. Even when they hadn't technically happened yet, Derek moved toward her, and Elijah stepped smoothly into his path. I'd be careful, Elijah said quietly. There are 200 witnesses here, and I'm recording this conversation for legal purposes, Maya. Derek's voice had shifted, trying for reasonable. Let's talk about this privately. This is family business. You made it public business when you announced your fake company in front of half of New Seattle's power structure, Maya said. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears, harder, clearer. How much have you taken in management fees, Derek? How much did you bill for services you never provided? His jaw clenched. I've been managing those properties for years. Successfully. I turned them into real assets. You collected rent checks and took credit for my mother's investments. Maya stepped forward, past Elijah's protective stance. She was done hiding in corners. She worked herself into early kidney failure covering your mistakes, your ego, your need to be the family golden boy. And you repaid her by mocking me at every opportunity. We were joking, Vanessa tried. Maya, you know we didn't mean, you meant every word. Maya turned to face her cousin. Remember last Christmas? When you said I was wasting the Chen name on poor people who die anyway? You said it in front of 30 people. And everyone laughed. Including you, Vanessa flushed. I was drunk, you were honest. Maya looked at each of them, Derek, Vanessa, Brandon, the aunts and uncles who'd spent years treating her like a charity case. My mother spent 17 years protecting assets she could have used to make her own life easier. She lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. She drove a car held together with prayer and duct tape. She worked night shifts at a hospice because it paid better, even though it destroyed her health. And she did it all to make sure that when this moment came, I'd have every legal protection in place. So what? Brandon said, his venture capitalist mind already moving to negotiation. You're going to cut us all out? Take everything for yourself? Maya paused. She'd been asking herself the same question since finding that storage unit. The money was staggering, life-changing, dynasty-building. She could pay off student loans, buy a real car, maybe even start her own hospice facility. Or she could do what her family expected, divide it up, play nice, pretend this betrayal had never happened. She looked at Elijah, who was watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Not judgment. Not expectation. Just curiosity about what she'd choose. I don't know, Maya said honestly. But I know I'm not making that decision tonight, in front of an audience, while you're all looking at me like I'm suddenly worth noticing. She walked toward the elevator, the crowd parting instinctively. Elijah fell into step beside her, a solid presence in the chaos. That was well done, he murmured as they waited for the doors to open. I'm shaking, I know. But you did it anyway. The elevator arrived, and they stepped inside. As the doors closed on the stunned crowd, Elijah added, your mother would be proud. Maya leaned against the elevator wall, adrenaline crashing. What happens now? Now, we go to the hospital. Your mother asked me to bring you there after the gala, regardless of how tonight went. He hesitated. She wanted to explain everything herself. If she's strong enough, the elevator descended through 70 floors of Chin family empire. Maya watched the numbers drop, each one a year of her life spent as the family disappointment. Tomorrow, everything would be different. Tomorrow, she'd have resources and power and all the things her cousins had used to justify their cruelty. Tonight, she just wanted to see her mother. The medical transport glided through New Seattle's elevated traffic lanes, its emergency beacon casting blue shadows across Maya Chen's face as she pressed her palm against the reinforced glass. Below, the city sprawled in layers, ground level for service workers and the unenhanced, mid-tier platforms for the comfortable middle class, and above it all, the gleaming spires where her family lived. Where her mother had never belonged. Despite funding their lifestyle for 17 years, Maya's neural implant buzzed with incoming messages, the text overlaying her vision in translucent amber. She blinked them away without reading. Derek could wait. Vanessa's performative concern could wait. The world could wait while her mother died. The transport docked at St. Catherine's Medical Center, a facility that catered to those who couldn't afford neural-linked healing pods or genetic repair treatments. Maya's scrubs were wrinkled from a double shift, the hospice facility's logo, a simple hand holding a lotus, stitched above her heart. Her coworkers had learned to read that logo as a kind of bravery. Her family read it as failure. Linda Chen occupied a room in the palliative care wing, surrounded by machines that measured dying with cold precision. Maya had spent enough time here to know every beep, every rhythm, every gradual decline in the metrics floating holographically above the bed. Her mother's social credit score blinked weakly in the corner of the display, 654. Respectable for a retired nurse. Nothing that opened doors or granted favors. Linda's eyes opened as Maya entered, recognition flickering through the pain medication haze. You came, Linda whispered, her voice thin. I always come. Maya pulled a chair close, taking her mother's hand. The skin felt paper thin, cool. How's the pain? Manageable. The doctors want to increase the neural blocks, but I told them not yet. Linda's grip tightened with surprising strength. I need to be clear today. There's something you need to know before the gala. Maya's stomach dropped. Mom, you don't have to worry about the gala. I'll make an appearance, smile for the cameras, let Derek parade around. No. Linda's voice sharpened. Listen to me, baby. I don't have much time, and there are things I should have told you years ago. Through the window, New Seattle's skyline glittered with possibility. Somewhere in those towers, Derek was probably rehearsing his speech, Vanessa was selecting the perfect outfit for maximum engagement, and Brandon was calculating how to leverage the evening for his next investment round. The annual Chen family legacy celebration, where success was measured in credit scores, follower counts, and quarterly earnings, your grandmother, Linda continued, didn't trust them. Any of them. She watched Derek fire you from the family firm for wanting to do pro bono work. She saw Vanessa crop you out of family photos because you didn't fit her brand aesthetic. She heard Brandon tell you at Christmas that you were wasting the Chen name. Maya remembered that Christmas. The comment had been delivered with a laugh, in front of 30 relatives, while she'd worn a sweater she'd mended herself because buying new clothes felt wasteful when her patients needed so much. The room had gone quiet for exactly 3 seconds before conversation resumed. Everyone pretending the cruelty hadn't happened. Grandma understood, Maya said softly, more than you know. Linda fumbled for the bedside table, her movements weak. Open the drawer. There's a keycard. Maya retrieved a slim piece of black plastic, encoded with biometric locks that recognized her thumbprint immediately. Her name appeared in holographic script across its surface. Chen Tower, Sublevel 7, Linda said. Storage Unit S7-2847. Everything you need is there. But Maya, her mother's eyes locked onto hers with fierce intensity, don't go until after the gala. Let them have their moment. Let them think they've won. Won what? Linda smiled, the expression carrying shadows of satisfaction and sorrow. You'll see. Just promise me you'll go tonight, after the party. And promise me you'll remember that you've always been enough. Exactly as you are. A nurse entered with medication, and Linda's eyes drifted closed. Maya sat with her for another hour, holding her hand, trying to decipher the cryptic message. Her mother had always been protective, but this felt different. Deliberate. At 6:30, Maya's neural implant chimed with an insistent priority alert. Derek's face materialized in her peripheral vision, his expression annoyed even in miniature. Where are you? His voice echoed directly into her auditory cortex, the intimacy of neural communication making his irritation impossible to ignore. The gala starts in 30 minutes. Please tell me you're not still at that death warehouse, hospice facility, Maya corrected, standing carefully to avoid disturbing her mother. And yes, I'm visiting Mom, right? Well, get here. Aunt Melissa's been asking about you, and I'd rather not explain why you're perpetually AWOL from family events. He disconnected without waiting for a response. Maya changed in the hospital bathroom, pulling on the only formal dress she owned, a simple black number she'd purchased for a colleague's wedding 3 years ago. No reactive fabric, no holographic accents, no embedded tech that would shift and shimmer with her mood. Just cloth and determination. The Chen Tower dominated the city's financial district, 70 stories of crystalline smart glass that displayed the family's achievements on its exterior walls. Tonight, the building cycled through images from 4 generations, her great-grandparents standing before their first restaurant, her grandfather's tech startup logo, her uncle's IPO celebration, Derek's latest neural interface breakthrough. Maya's face never appeared in the rotation. She'd stopped expecting it years ago. Security drones scanned her credentials at the entrance, her social credit score flashing briefly for assessment, 712, service sector stable. The drones hesitated. She was technically family, but her score suggested otherwise. Finally, they granted access, directing her toward the public elevators while the private express carried guests with higher rankings directly to the Sky Garden. Maya took her time ascending, watching the city shrink below her. Each floor represented another layer of the Chen Empire, legal on 15, real estate development on 23, venture capital on 37. She'd once worked here, fresh from law school, idealistic and determined to use her education for good. Derek had fired her within 6 months for suggesting the firm dedicate resources to housing rights cases. We're not a charity, he'd said, his 956 credit score glowing on his office wall like a halo. We're a business. If you want to save the world, do it on your own time, so she had. She'd gone back to school for nursing, specialized in palliative care, and spent her days helping people die with grace. Her family had treated it like a phase, a breakdown, a waste of potential. At every gathering since, someone made a joke about her martyr complex or her poverty mindset. The Sky Garden occupied floors 70 through 72, an architectural marvel of living walls and floating platforms that gave visitors the sensation of standing among clouds. Maya emerged from the elevator into a river of wealth, holographic nameplates hovering beside each guest, displaying their social credit scores, net worth, and real-time social media metrics. The air smelled of expensive champagne and synthetic cherry blossoms, the scent calibrated to trigger positive neural responses in enhanced guests. She spotted Derek immediately. He commanded the center of the main platform, surrounded by Chin Dynamics executives whose augmented eyes flickered with constant data streams. His tuxedo was woven from reactive smart fabric that shifted between midnight blue and deep purple, responding to his confident mood. When he noticed Maya, the fabric briefly flashed crimson with irritation. "There you are." He broke away from his admirers, crossing to her with quick, precise steps. "Please tell me you didn't wear that dress." Maya glanced down at her simple black cocktail dress. "It's formal, it's vintage. Unenhanced fabric, no tech integration, no social tracking." His eyes scanned her critically, his neural implant probably running style analysis in real time. "Did you at least update your social profile with tonight's attendance?" "Aunt Melissa's been tracking engagement metrics for the family stream." "I don't track my engagement metrics." Derek's expression suggested she'd just admitted to living in a cave. "Right. Of course you don't. Well, try to mingle. These people could be useful to you if you ever decide to do something with your life." He walked away before she could respond, already flagging down a city councilwoman whose holographic nameplate declared her worth at 15 million and her credit score at 923. Maya accepted champagne from a passing server drone and surveyed the room, cataloging the family dynamics with practiced observation. Vanessa held court beneath a living wall of bioluminescent orchids, her form-fitting dress embedded with micro-LEDs that displayed her latest social media metrics in real time. 10 million followers. 94% engagement rate. Brand partnerships generating 8 figures annually. Every few minutes, she'd pose for an automated photo, her expression cycling through carefully calibrated emotions designed for maximum shareability. 3 drones orbited her constantly, capturing content from optimal angles. Brandon worked a cluster of venture capitalists near the transparent floor panels that revealed the city far below. His augmented reality glasses displayed financial projections that only he and his targets could see, painting the air between them with graphs and profit margins. Maya watched him close a deal with nothing more than a smile and a gesture, his neural implant transferring contracts directly to his target's personal servers. Their parents circulated through the crowd like celebrities, collecting compliments and investment opportunities. No one noticed Maya in her corner, nursing champagne she didn't want while trying to decode her mother's cryptic message. "You look like someone plotting an escape route." Maya turned. The man who'd spoken wasn't family. His holographic nameplate identified him as Elijah Rhodes, Rhodes Associates, Estate Law, 887 credit score. He was tall, with silver threading through close-cropped hair and eyes that suggested he found the entire spectacle quietly amusing. His tuxedo was expensive but understated, worn with the casual confidence of someone who didn't need clothes to announce his value. "Is my misery that obvious?" Maya asked, only to someone who's been watching you be systematically ignored by everyone in your family for the past 20 minutes. He offered a fresh glass of champagne. "I brought reinforcements." "Are you crashing this party, Mr. Rhodes?" "Elijah. And I'm invited, technically. Your mother hired me 6 months ago." His expression shifted, genuine sympathy replacing the amusement. "I'm sorry about her condition." "She spoke very highly of you." Maya's throat tightened. "You've met her?" "Several times. At St. Catherine's, actually. She insisted on meeting there because she didn't want anyone knowing she'd hired an estate attorney." He nodded toward a quieter alcove. "Can we talk?" Somewhere less performative, they moved away from the main crowd, finding space near a section of transparent wall that overlooked the city. Up close, Maya noticed details she'd missed initially, the fine lines around Elijah's eyes, suggesting more nights spent working than sleeping. The way his left hand bore slight scarring, like he'd once worked with his hands before ascending to his current profession. The calluses that suggested he still did. Your mother asked me to wait until after the gala to contact you, Elijah said, his voice low enough that ambient noise would prevent eavesdropping. But I've been watching your family tonight, and I'm reconsidering that plan. Why? Because in approximately 10 minutes, Derek is going to make a formal announcement regarding your grandmother's estate. And you should know the truth before he does. Maya's pulse quickened. What truth? Elijah pulled a slim tablet from his jacket. Its screen locked with biometric security. Everything I'm about to show you, your mother documented. Notarized. Legally bulletproof. He unlocked the device, angling it so only Maya could see. The Chin Family Irrevocable Trust, established by your grandmother in 2005, the documents on screen matched what Maya had seen in her brief research after her mother's cryptic message, but with additional layers of detail. Bank records showing monthly transfers from Linda Chen's accounts. Property tax payments. Investment fees. Maintenance costs. 17 years of financial documentation, all leading back to her mother. Derek's been telling everyone for years that he manages the family real estate holdings. Elijah explained, his voice carrying quiet intensity. He's collected management fees, taken credit for appreciation, positioned himself as the family's financial genius. Your mother let him. She paid every bill, covered every expense, and let him think he was running the show. Why would she do that? Because she was protecting you. Elijah's eyes met hers, and Maya saw something there that made her breath catch, not pity, but recognition. Understanding. She knew if your family understood the true financial structure, they'd find ways to contest it, manipulate it, or destroy it. By staying invisible, by letting them underestimate both of you, she ensured that when the time came, you'd inherit everything free and clear. Maya's hands shook as she scrolled through more documents. Her grandmother's signature on the original trust. Her mother's name as primary beneficiary and trustee. And at the bottom, in bold letters, upon the death of Linda Chen, all assets transfer immediately and irrevocably to Maya Chen, sole beneficiary. When does this happen? Maya whispered, the moment your mother passes. No probate, no court approval, no opportunity for contest. Your grandmother designed it that way specifically because she'd watched this family tear itself apart over money. Elijah paused. She wanted to give you the resources to build something different. Something different, Maya repeated, the words feeling foreign in her mouth. She looked out over New Seattle's glittering landscape, each building a monument to someone's ambition. I don't know how to manage millions of dollars in assets. I help people die, Elijah. I hold hands and listen to last wishes and make sure nobody leaves this world alone. Your mother said you'd say that. Elijah's smile was soft, genuine. She also said you once spent 6 weeks organizing a fundraiser that brought in enough money to grant 30 terminal patients their last wishes. You found sponsors, negotiated with vendors, coordinated volunteers, and made miracles happen on a budget smaller than your cousin spends on shoes. Maya remembered that fundraiser. She'd worked 16-hour days on top of her regular shifts, called in every favor she'd ever earned, and personally visited 50 local businesses to request donations. At the end, they'd sent a woman to Paris to see her childhood home one last time, reunited a man with his estranged daughter, and given a teenager the wedding she'd always dreamed of. Maya had considered it the most important work of her life. You know exactly how to manage resources, Elijah continued. You've just been doing it for people who couldn't pay you back. Before Maya could respond, the ambient noise shifted. Derek had moved to the center of the main platform, tapping his champagne glass for attention. The crowd quieted immediately, faces turning toward him with the automatic deference granted to those with high credit scores and generational wealth. Thank you all for coming tonight, Derek began, his voice amplified by speakers woven invisibly through the space. We gathered to celebrate the Chin family legacy, 4 generations of innovation, determination, and success. Maya felt dozens of eyes slide over her, dismissive, before returning to Derek's performance. She was furniture in her own family story. Background noise. The cautionary tale parents told their children about choosing poorly. As many of you know, Derek continued, our grandmother established this family's fortune. She was a visionary, an entrepreneur, a woman who understood that success requires both intelligence and decisive action. When she passed 3 years ago, she entrusted the family properties to those who could best honor her legacy. Elijah's hand found Maya's elbow, steadying. She hadn't realized she was swaying. Tonight, I'm proud to announce the official formation of Chin Property Holdings, a management company that will consolidate our family's real estate portfolio under unified leadership. Derek paused, his smile calculated for maximum impact. My leadership, applause rippled through the crowd. Vanessa beamed, her micro-LEDs pulsing with celebratory animations. Brandon raised his glass in salute. Their parents glowed with pride, their combined credit scores pushing past 1800, enough to buy almost anything in the city, including political influence and social immunity. Derek raised his glass higher. To family. To legacy. To building something that lasts beyond any single generation, except none of it belongs to him. The words came from Elijah, not loudly, but with perfect timing in the moment of silence after the toast. Head swiveled. Derek's expression shifted from triumphant to dangerous in the space of a heartbeat. Excuse me? Derek's voice dropped to something cold and sharp. Elijah stepped forward, his movement casual but commanding attention. I'm Elijah Rhodes, estate attorney for Linda Chen. I have documentation proving that the Chen Family Irrevocable Trust, which holds every property you just referenced, has been under Linda Chen's control since 2008. You've been managing properties you don't own, Derek. Collecting fees for services rendered to assets that legally belong to someone else. The silence went absolute. Maya could hear her own pulse in her ears, could feel the weight of 200 pairs of eyes turning to assess her with new interest. Her holographic nameplate flickered, updating in real time as people searched for information about her, trying to understand this sudden plot twist. Derek forced a laugh, the sound brittle. That's absurd. I've been managing the family properties for a decade. I have complete oversight, for assets you believed belonged to your grandmother's estate, yes. But the trust is separate, legally distinct, and very specific about its ownership structure. Elijah looked past Derek, directly at Maya. Would you like to tell them, or should I? Maya opened her mouth. Closed it. Every instinct screamed to retreat, to apologize, to smooth over the conflict and disappear back into comfortable invisibility. But her mother's voice echoed in memory, let them have their moment. Let them think they've won. This was that moment. The before. Everything that came after would be irrevocably different, I think, Maya said, surprised by the steadiness in her own voice. You should tell them, Elijah. Elijah's smile was small but warm, meant just for Maya in that moment of silence. Then he turned to address the crowd, his voice carrying across the sky garden with practiced authority. Maya Chen is the sole beneficiary of the Chen Family Irrevocable Trust, effective upon Linda Chen's passing. The trust holds approximately $200 million in assets, the original Chen's kitchen property, founding stock in Chen Dynamics, and a commercial real estate portfolio spanning 3 states. Linda Chen has served as trustee and financial manager of these assets for 17 years while working as a registered nurse. She documented every transaction, every expense, and every attempt by Derek Chen to misrepresent ownership. The holographic nameplates around the room flickered wildly as guests frantically searched for information, their neural implants working overtime to process this sudden reversal. Maya watched her own credit score jump in real time, the number climbing as automated financial systems detected the inheritance before it technically existed. 712 became 734, then 756, then broke past 800 as algorithms calculated her potential net worth. Vanessa's face had gone pale beneath her perfect makeup, the micro-LEDs in her dress stuttering and dimming as her emotional state disrupted their programming. Brandon's augmented reality glasses had gone dark, his financial projections collapsing as he recalculated everything he'd assumed about the family's wealth distribution. Derek's smart fabric tuxedo pulsed with alternating waves of crimson and black, rage and fear in equal measure. That's impossible, Derek said, his voice dangerously quiet. Aunt Linda is a nurse. She doesn't have the financial expertise to manage a portfolio of that size. She couldn't possibly, she could and did. Elijah's voice remained gentle but implacable. She paid property taxes on holdings you claimed as your own. She covered maintenance costs you billed to Chin Property Management, a company that exists only as a tax shelter. She's been funding your lifestyle, Derek, while you've been taking credit for her investments and her mother's foresight. Derek moved toward Maya, his movements quick and aggressive. Elijah stepped smoothly between them, his body language shifting from professional attorney to something more protective. Maya noticed the way he positioned himself, not touching her, but close enough that she could feel his warmth, could draw strength from his presence. "I'd be careful," Elijah said quietly, his words carrying just enough edge to make Derek pause. "There are 200 witnesses here, and I'm recording this conversation for legal documentation. Threatening behavior toward my client would be inadvisable." "Your client?" Derek's laugh was harsh, bitter. "Maya, you can't possibly believe this. We're family. We've been managing these properties together for years." "You've been managing properties you had no legal claim to," Maya interrupted, surprised by the steadiness in her own voice. The shock was wearing off, replaced by something harder. Clearer. "How much have you taken in management fees, Derek? How much did you bill for services you never actually provided?" His jaw clenched, the smart fabric of his tuxedo now solid crimson. "I've been working my ass off maintaining those properties, increasing their value, turning them into actual revenue streams instead of sentimental bullshit. You collected rent checks and took credit for my mother's investment strategy." Maya stepped forward, past Elijah's protective stance. She was done hiding in corners, done accepting their version of her story. She worked herself into kidney failure covering your mistakes, funding your ego, supporting your need to be the family golden boy. And you repaid her by mocking me at every opportunity, treating me like a charity case because I chose to do work that actually matters. The crowd had gone completely silent, drinks forgotten, conversations abandoned. This was better than any planned entertainment, real family drama, genuine conflict, the kind of spectacle that would dominate social feeds for weeks. "We were joking," Vanessa tried, her voice small. The confidence she projected for her millions of followers had evaporated, leaving behind someone who looked suddenly very young and very lost. "Maya, you know we didn't mean," "You meant every word." Maya turned to face her cousin, years of accumulated hurt finally finding voice. "Remember last Christmas? When you told everyone I was wasting the Chen name on poor people who'd die anyway? You said it in front of 30 relatives, and everyone laughed. Including you, Vanessa. You thought it was hilarious that I'd chosen compassion over profit." Vanessa's micro-LEDs had gone completely dark now, her dress just expensive fabric without the technology to make it remarkable. "I was drunk," you were honest. Maya looked at each of them in turn, Derek, Vanessa, Brandon, the aunts and uncles who'd spent years treating her like she'd failed some fundamental test of family worthiness. "My mother spent 17 years protecting assets she could have used to make her own life easier. She lived in a one-bedroom apartment in a mid-tier district. She drove an electric sedan held together with replacement parts and prayer. She worked night shifts because they paid better, even though the hours destroyed her health and accelerated her illness. And she did it all to make sure that when this moment came, I'd have every legal protection in place." Maya's neural implant buzzed with incoming messages, dozens. Then hundreds as word spread beyond the gala. Media requests. Interview offers. Social connections from people who'd ignored her for years. She blinked them all away, focusing on the family members who were finally, truly seeing her. "So what?" Brandon found his voice, his venture capitalist mind already pivoting to negotiation mode. "You're going to cut us all out? Take everything for yourself? That's not very compassionate of you, Maya." The accusation landed like he'd meant it to, a challenge to her values, to the identity she'd built around service and selflessness. Maya felt the old instinct rise up, the need to prove she was different from them, better than them, above their petty materialism. The urge to divide the money equally, to smooth over the conflict, to sacrifice what was legally hers to maintain some illusion of family harmony. She looked at Elijah, who was watching her with an expression that wasn't judgment or expectation or manipulation. Just curiosity about what she'd choose, and faith that whatever she decided would be right. I don't know, Maya said honestly, the words feeling like freedom. But I know I'm not making that decision tonight, in front of an audience, while you're all suddenly looking at me like I'm worth noticing. She walked toward the elevator, the crowd parting instinctively. Years of being invisible had at least taught her how to move through spaces without drawing attention, except now. Every eye followed her progress. Elijah fell into step beside her, a solid presence in the chaos that had erupted the moment she turned her back. That took courage, he murmured as they waited for the elevator. I'm shaking. Maya held up her hand to prove it, the tremor visible even in the ambient light. I know. But you did it anyway. The elevator arrived, its doors sliding open with a soft chime. They stepped inside, and as the doors closed on the stunned crowd, on her family's shocked faces, on the life she'd known for 32 years, Elijah added, your mother would be incredibly proud. Maya leaned against the elevator wall, adrenaline crashing as they descended through 70 floors of Chin family legacy. The number display counted down like seconds ticking away from the world she'd known. Tomorrow, everything would be different. Tomorrow, she'd have resources and power and all the things her cousins had used to justify their cruelty, to explain away their dismissal of her choices. Tonight, she just wanted to see her mother. She wanted me to bring you to the hospital, Elijah said, watching the floor numbers drop. After the gala, regardless of how tonight went. She wanted to explain everything herself, if she's strong enough. The elevator reached the lobby, but Maya didn't move immediately. She stood in that small space with this man who'd somehow become essential in the span of an evening. Trying to understand how her mother had orchestrated all of this. The hidden wealth, the legal protections, the timing of every revelation. How long have you known? Maya asked. About me, about what she was planning. Elijah's expression shifted, something vulnerable breaking through his professional composure. I first met your mother 8 months ago when she contacted my firm about estate planning. She came to my office with a briefcase full of documents and a very specific request: protect her daughter from a family that had never appreciated her. And you just agreed? Not immediately. I'm not in the habit of taking clients based on emotional appeals. He smiled slightly. But then she showed me documentation of 17 years of financial management, of careful asset protection, of a woman working 2 nursing jobs while single-handedly funding her extended family's lifestyle. And she showed me photos of you. Maya's breath caught. Photos, at the hospice facility where you work. Sitting with patients, reading to them, holding their hands. She had dozens of them, evidence of the daughter she was so proud of, the one her family treated like a disappointment. Elijah's voice dropped lower, more intimate. She told me about the day you quit the family law firm. How Derek called you naive, how your uncle said you were wasting your education, how Vanessa posted on social media about her crazy cousin throwing away a 6-figure salary to play nurse. Maya remembered that day. She'd been 26, 3 years out of law school, already exhausted by the emptiness of corporate law. She'd told her family she was going back to school for nursing, that she wanted to specialize in palliative care. They'd treated it like a mental breakdown. My mother saved those posts? Maya asked. She saved everything. Every dismissive comment, every mocking joke, every time they made you feel small for choosing meaning over money. Elijah paused. She said she was building a case. Not for court, but for you. So that when this moment came, you'd know you weren't crazy. That choosing differently wasn't failure. The elevator doors had been open for minutes, but neither of them moved. Security drones hovered nearby, probably confused by their stationary presence, but Maya couldn't bring herself to care. She set you up, Maya said slowly, understanding dawning. Not just the trust, not just the legal protections. She set me up with you. Elijah had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. She mentioned, several times, that her daughter deserved someone who'd appreciate her choices. Someone who'd see her work as a calling rather than a character flaw. Did she show you my profile on dating apps? Please tell me she didn't. No dating apps. Elijah's smile was genuine now, warm. But she did invite me to St. Catherine's under the pretense of document signing, knowing you'd be there during your evening rounds. I saw you sing to an Alzheimer's patient who didn't remember her own name. You sang the same verse 6 times because she'd forget between repetitions, and you never once showed frustration, Maya remembered that night. Mrs. Patterson, 83, advanced dementia, no family visits in months. She'd loved You Are My Sunshine as a young woman, and somewhere in her deteriorating mind, the melody still brought comfort. You were watching me? Your mother was getting signatures on the trust documents. I'd come to witness them. You didn't notice me because you were completely focused on making sure that woman felt loved in her last weeks. Elijah's expression turned self-deprecating. I went home that night and told my roommate I'd just met the most extraordinary person I'd ever encountered, and I couldn't even introduce myself because I was her mother's attorney. So you've been what? Nursing a crush for 8 months while managing my mother's estate? When you put it like that, it sounds unprofessional. It is unprofessional, Maya pointed out, but she was smiling despite herself, completely. Elijah gestured toward the exit. We should go. Your mother's waiting, and I suspect she'll want to know how her matchmaking scheme is progressing. They walked through the lobby together, past holographic displays still cycling through Chin family achievements that no longer told the true story. Outside, the evening air was cool, carrying the scent of synthetic cherry blossoms from the sky garden above and exhaust from ground-level traffic below. The city existed in layers, always had, always would, but Maya was starting to understand that the most important layer was the one most people never saw. Elijah's car was in the executive parking level, a sleek electric sedan that spoke to success without screaming about it. As they drove toward St. Catharines, Maya watched the city pass by in familiar patterns. She'd traveled these routes for years. Moving between districts, between worlds, between the life her family expected and the one she'd chosen. What happens now? She asked as they merged onto the elevated highway. Legally, I mean, now, Derek will lawyer up. He'll file injunctions, claim your mother was incompetent or coerced, try to freeze the trust assets. Vanessa and Brandon will probably join the challenge, pool their resources. Elijah navigated through traffic with practiced ease. They'll make a lot of noise, generate media attention, try to paint you as the opportunistic one who manipulated a dying woman. Can they win? No. His certainty was absolute. The trust is ironclad. Your grandmother had the best estate attorneys in the state drafted. I checked their work myself. They can delay, make things messy, cost you time and energy. But they can't win. Maya processed this, watching the city lights blur past. Then why do you look worried? Elijah glanced at her, surprised. You're observant. Hospice work teaches you to read people. You learn to see what they're not saying. I'm worried, Elijah admitted, because they're going to make this public and ugly. They'll attack your character, question your motives, try to destroy your reputation to force a settlement. And you work in a field where reputation matters. Where families need to trust you with their most vulnerable moments. Maya's stomach dropped as she understood. They'll try to get me fired. Or suspended. Or investigated. They'll claim you've been manipulating vulnerable patients, that you can't be trusted around people in crisis. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. I've seen it before, vindictive family members using professional destruction as leverage in estate disputes. So what do? You fight. Elijah's voice was firm. You document everything, you stay visible, and you make it impossible for them to paint you as anything other than what you are, someone who's chosen meaningful work over easy money. But Maya, I won't lie to you. The next few months are going to be brutal. They pulled into St. Catharines' parking structure, finding a spot near the elevators. Elijah killed the engine but didn't move to get out. In the dim lighting, his face was half shadow, half revelation. I need to tell you something, he said. Before we go up there, before your mother starts her I told you so routine about us. You should know that you've been half in love with me since you watched me sing to a dementia patient 8 months ago? Maya finished for him. Elijah's laugh was startled, genuine. Your mother said you were perceptive. She also probably told you I'm terrible at accepting compliments and worse at believing people could want me for reasons beyond obligation or pity. She mentioned that, yes. Maya studied him in the parking structure's fluorescent light, this man who'd walked into her life on the worst night imaginable and somehow made it bearable. So what do we do about this? This thing that my dying mother engineered because she was apparently determined to control my life from beyond the grave, we could ignore it. Keep everything professional until your case is resolved, then reassess. But your mother was right about a lot of things. And maybe she was right about this too. Maya's phone buzzed with an incoming call. Derek's name flashed on the screen. She declined it. Then Vanessa called. Declined. Then Brandon. She put the phone on silent and looked at Elijah. My life just became incredibly complicated. Yes, my family is going to try to destroy me, probably, and you're my attorney, which means any kind of personal relationship would be ethically questionable at best. True, so the smart thing would be to keep strict professional boundaries until this is all resolved. That would be the smart thing, Elijah agreed. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of unspoken possibilities hanging between them. My mother is going to ask if we're dating, Maya finally said. Undoubtedly. What should I tell her? Elijah's smile was slow, warm, devastating. Tell her we're working on it. That her matchmaking skills are showing promise. And that her daughter is exactly as extraordinary as she claimed. They got out of the car and walked toward the elevators, not quite touching but close enough that Maya could feel the heat of him beside her. Her phone was still buzzing silently with calls from her family, but she left it in her pocket. They could wait. The confrontation could wait. The decisions about money and property and revenge could wait. Tonight, she just wanted to sit with her mother and hear the story of how Linda Chen had spent 17 years building a fortress around her daughter's future, brick by patient brick, while everyone else assumed she was simply too weak or too poor or too naive to fight back. Tomorrow, the war would begin. Tonight, Maya just wanted to understand how her mother had won it before the first shot was ever fired.